The provocation, the Zephyrian hegemony, had ruled over 17 star systems for 3 millennia. Their crystalline ships moved through space like predators through dark waters, collecting tribute from lesser species, enforcing their will with plasma cannons and gravity weapons that could tear moons apart. They had never lost a war, never negotiated from weakness, never considered that their supremacy could be challenged, that arrogance would be their undoing. Commander Vexar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, his 6 eyes, focused on the tactical display showing a small human mining colony on Kepler 44-b. The colony was insignificant, barely 5,000 souls scratching minerals from the rocky surface of a world the hegemony had claimed but never bothered to settle. The humans had been there for 3 Earth years, sending polite messages about joint development opportunities, offering to share their findings, proposing trade agreements. The hegemony had ignored every communication. Now, Vexar decided, it was time to remind these upstart mammals of their place in the galaxy. The colony's administrator, Marcus Rodriguez, had just finished his morning coffee when the sensors screamed. 17 hegemony warships dropped out of hyperspace, their hulls gleaming with that distinctive purple shimmer that made them look like deadly gemstones against the void. Marcus had been a Marine before becoming a colony administrator. He knew what a threat looked like. He also knew protocol. Opening a channel to Earth took precious seconds, but the quantum communicator connected instantly. Ambassador Sarah Chen materialized as a hologram in the hegemony's throne room 3 hours later. She was small by Zephyrian standards, barely reaching the chest of the lowest guard. Her dark suit was immaculate, her expression calm, but those who knew humans would have recognized the steel in her eyes. The supreme hierarch Zixiter looked down at her from his elevated throne, his crystalline form refracting light in a display meant to intimidate. "Your ships surround our mining colony," Sarah said without preamble. "This is a violation of the Neutral Zone Accords. I am here to request their immediate withdrawal." The hierarch's laughter sounded like breaking glass. "Request you dare make? Requests of the hegemony. That colony exists on our territory. Your species was tolerated only because you were beneath our notice. Now you have become an irritant." Sarah's expression didn't change. "That colony has been registered with the Galactic Council. We have followed every protocol, filed every form. We've even offered to pay lease fees, though the planet was uninhabited when we arrived. This doesn't need to escalate. It has already escalated, mammal. Your colony has 72 of your hours to evacuate. After that, we will reclaim what is ours, and if we refuse..." The hierarch leaned forward, his massive form casting prismatic shadows. "Then you will learn what countless species before you have learned. The hegemony does not negotiate with lesser beings. We command, and you obey, or you burn." Sarah stood in silence for a moment, then spoke with a voice that carried the weight of history. "Humanity has a saying, hierarch, speak softly and carry a big stick. We've been speaking softly for 3 years. Don't make us show you the stick." The throne room erupted in laughter. The gathered Zephyrian nobles found the tiny human's threat amusing. The hierarch waved a dismissive appendage. "Take your colonists and run, little mammal, or stay and burn. The choice is yours." Sarah's hologram flickered and disappeared. In the silence that followed, only one voice spoke up. It was Tactical Advisor Kredian, old even by Zephyrian standards, who had studied hundreds of species. "Hierarch," he said, "carefully, perhaps we should research these humans more thoroughly. Their technology seems primitive, but they survived their own nuclear age. unified their planet, and reached the stars in remarkably short time. They have 17 colonies and a handful of ships. The hierarch replied, "We have conquered civilizations, with hundreds of worlds. Your concern is noted and dismissed." 72 hours passed. The human colony didn't evacuate. Instead, a single message was broadcast from the colony to the hegemony fleet. "We decline your generous offer. Please leave our space." Commander Vexar didn't hesitate. The Eternal Dominion's main gun charged, a weapon that could crack a moon's crust. The purple beam lanced through space toward the colony. It never reached its target. The beam struck something invisible, a barrier that rippled like water, absorbing the energy and dispersing it harmlessly into space. The colony's shield held. "Impossible," Vexar muttered. "Their technology shouldn't." The sentence was never finished. Space behind the hegemony fleet twisted, and ships emerged from hyperspace. Not the dozen vessels intelligence had reported. Humanity possessed, but hundreds. They were ugly things by Zephyrian standards, all angles and armor, bristling with weapons pods and covered in what looked like scars from previous battles. These weren't new ships. They were old, veteran vessels that had been hidden, waiting. Dotica Thompson commanded the human fleet from the dreadnought Perseverance. She was 63 years old, had served in the Mars Uprising, the Europa conflict, and 17 other engagements humanity didn't advertise to the galaxy. Her voice crackled across open channels, asterisk broadcasting to everyone in the system. "Hegemony Fleet, this is Admiral Thompson of the United Earth Defense Force. You have committed an act of war against a human colony. You have one opportunity to withdraw. You have 5 minutes to begin your retreat." Commander Vexar responded with contempt. "You bring scrap metal to face the hegemony's finest. We will scatter you like dust." "For minutes, 50 seconds," Thompson replied. The hegemony fleet opened fire. Thousands of plasma bolts and missile swarms filled space with deadly light. The human ships didn't dodge. They didn't need to. Point defense systems humanity had been perfecting since their first World War created overlapping fields of projectile fire. Missiles died by the hundreds. Plasma bolts were absorbed by ablative armor designed to drink energy. The human fleet kept advancing. "Return fire," Thompson ordered. What happened next would be studied by military academies across the galaxy for centuries. The humans didn't use energy weapons primarily. They used kinetic weapons, simple slugs of metal accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. The hegemony's shields were designed for energy weapons, calibrated for plasma and lasers. The human rounds punched through them like paper. The Eternal Dominion shuddered as 17 kinetic rounds struck its hull. Atmosphere vented from multiple breaches. Secondary explosions rippled through the ship as ammunition stores detonated. Commander Vexar watched his tactical display in horror as ship after ship in his fleet was systematically crippled. Not destroyed, he realized with growing dread, but crippled. The humans were being precise, surgical. They could have destroyed every ship, but they were choosing not to. "All ships, retreat." Vexar screamed, but space around them warped again. More human ships emerged, surrounding the hegemony fleet. These were different, smaller, faster, fighter craft, thousands of them, each piloted by humans who had been training for this moment their entire lives. They swarmed the hegemony ships like angry hornets, targeting weapons, systems, engines, communication arrays. In 12 minutes. The most powerful fleet the hegemony had assembled in a century was dead in space, drifting helplessly. The human ships surrounded them, weapons locked but not firing. Admiral Thompson's voice filled every communication channel in the system. "Commander Vexar, your fleet is disabled. Your crew will be allowed to evacuate in life pods. They will be collected and returned to hegemony space unharmed. You have 1 hour to abandon ship." "This is impossible," Vexar whispered. "We are the hegemony. We have ruled for 3,000 years. His tactical officer, young and frightened, looked at the sensor readings. "Commander, I'm detecting similar human fleets emerging near all our major systems. They're not attacking, just ... waiting." The truth hit Vexar like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just prepared for this battle, they had prepared for this war. Every polite message, every trade offer, every peaceful overture had been genuine. But behind it all, humanity had been getting ready for the day someone would mistake their kindness for weakness. As escape pods launched from the dying hegemony fleet, Admiral Thompson stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display. Her executive officer, Commander David Park, stood beside her. "Think they'll learn from this?" Thompson shook her head. "Slightly, they'll have to. The message is being sent to every major power in the galaxy. Humanity wants peace, we want trade, we want friendship. But if you bring war to our door, we'll return it 100-fold. The Battle of Kepler 4 for to be lasted 17 minutes. The war that followed would last 3 days. By the end, humanity would not have conquered the hegemony. They would have done something far more devastating. They would have shown the galaxy that the hegemony could be beaten, that their 3,000-year reign was built on fear rather than strength. And in doing so, humanity would accidentally become the very thing they had tried to avoid. The new power that everyone else would fear. Asterisk. The Reckoning, the Supreme Hierarch Zixita stood in his war room, surrounded by tactical displays showing red markers across 17 systems. Each marker represented a hegemony fleet or installation that had gone silent. The humans hadn't destroyed them all, which somehow made it worse. They had demonstrated they could, then chosen restraint. It was a message written in disabled ships and stranded crews. "We could end you, but we choose not to." 3 days. It had taken humanity 3 days to appear over every major hegemony world. They didn't attack the planets, didn't bombard cities or threaten civilians. They simply arrived, positioned themselves in orbit, and waited. The psychological effect was devastating. Worlds that had never known invasion suddenly faced the possibility. Panic spread through the crystalline cities of the core worlds. The door to the war room shattered inward. Not blown apart by weapons, but carefully deconstructed at the molecular level by human combat engineers. Through the doorway walked General Maria Santos, accompanied by a full platoon of human marines in power armor. The Hierarch's guards raised their weapons, but Santos held up a hand. "I wouldn't do that. Right now, 17,000 human marines are throughout this palace. Your guards are outnumbered, outgunned, and frankly, outclassed. This doesn't have to end in bloodshed." The Hierarch's form flickered with rage, colors shifting through the spectrum. "You dare invade the sacred palace of the hegemony. Invade." Santos removed her helmet, revealing a scarred face and grey hair tied back in a severe bun. "No, Hierarch, we're here to negotiate. You just weren't answering our calls, so we decided to make a house visit." Tactical advisor Cregan, who had warned against antagonizing the humans, stepped forward. "General Santos, e presume, your reputation precedes you. The siege of Titan, the liberation of Proxima, the point, advisor, is that humanity has been at war with itself for thousands of years. We've gotten very, very good at it. But we're tired of war. That's why we came to the stars, hoping to find something better. Instead, we found more species eager to fight. Santos walked to the tactical display, studying it. Your fleet at Kepler 442b was the most advanced force you've assembled in a century. We disabled it in 17 minutes. Your defensive platforms around the core worlds, the ones you thought were secret. We've had their positions mapped for 2 years. Impossible, the hierarch snarled. Our intelligence network employs 300 humans in various capacities, Santos interrupted. Did you think we came to the stars, naive? We've been the new species before, on our own world. We know what it's like to be underestimated, to be seen as primitive. We also know that survival means being prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. She gestured, and one of her marines brought forward a holographic projector. It displayed something that made every Zephyrian in the room step back in shock. Ships, thousands of them, hidden in the void between stars. Not just military vessels, but factory ships, mining vessels, mobile shipyards, an entire civilization ready to move, to fight, to survive. The Ghost Fleet, Santos said simply. Humanity's insurance policy. We've been building it for 50 years, ever since first contact with the Vraxi Consortium went badly. Every human colony contributes resources. Every citizen serves 2 years minimum in either construction, training, or support roles. We call it the service, and it's not about conquest. It's about ensuring that humanity never faces extinction again. The hierarch's 6 eyes focused on the display. This fleet, it's larger than anything in known space. And it's not even our main force, Santos replied. This is just what we keep mobile. Earth itself is surrounded by defensive platforms disguised as commercial stations. Mars has been hollowed out and turned into a fortress. Europa is basically one giant weapons platform covered in ice. We learned from our history, hierarch, learned that peace through strength is the only peace that lasts. Krejan spoke carefully. What do you want from us? Santos turned to face the hierarch directly. Reparations for the attack on our colony. A formal apology broadcast to all hegemony worlds and the Galactic Council. And most importantly, a reformation of how the hegemony interacts with other species. No more tribute, no more forced vassalage. Trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, actual cooperation. You want us to abandon 3 millennia of tradition. The hierarch's voice was incredulous. No, Santos said. We want you to evolve. The galaxy is changing. New species are reaching the stars every decade. You can either adapt or be left behind. And despite what you might think, humanity doesn't want to rule. We want to explore, to learn, to build. But we will not be anyone's subjects, and we will not stand by while others are oppressed. The room fell silent. Outside, the capital city was eerily quiet, its citizens watching human ships hang in the sky like steel clouds. The hierarch's form dimmed, colors shifting to darker hues. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of defeat. And if we refuse, Santos sighed, then we disable every military asset you have. Establish a protective corridor around non-hegemony species in your territory, and let them decide their own fate. Your worlds will be blockaded until you agree to terms. No trade, no travel, just isolation until you're ready to join the galactic community as equals, not overlords. You would strangle our civilization. We would contain it until it's ready to play nicely with others. The choice is yours. Advisor Krijan moved closer to the hierarch, speaking in low tones. The conversation lasted several minutes, with other advisors joining. Finally, the hierarch turned back to Santos. We need time to consider. You have 24 hours. After that, we begin the blockade. Santos and her marines turned to leave, but the hierarch called out, "General, a question. Your species had the power to conquer us, to take revenge for our attack. Why didn't you?" Santos paused at the doorway. Because, hierarch, humanity has conquered before. We've been the oppressor and the oppressed. We've seen what happens when power is used without wisdom, when strength is employed without mercy. We came to the stars to be better than we were. Destroying you would make us no different from what you are now. Changing you, helping you evolve, that's how we all move forward. 23 hours later, the hierarch appeared before the Galactic Council. His crystalline form was dulled, colors muted, but his voice was clear as he delivered the apology humanity had demanded. He announced the end of tribute collection, the dissolution of forced vassalage, and the beginning of what he called a new age of cooperation. The response across the galaxy was immediate and shocking. Species that had been under hegemony control for centuries suddenly found themselves free. Trade routes reopened, cultural exchanges began, and for the first time in 3 millennia, the galaxy experienced something approaching genuine peace. Admiral Thompson watched the broadcast from the bridge of the Perseverance. Now in orbit around Earth, her executive officer, Commander Park, stood beside her. Think it will last, the peace? Probably not forever. Nothing ever does. But maybe long enough for the next generation to find a better way. And if someone else tries what the hegemony did? Thompson smiled grimly. Then they'll learn what the hegemony learned. Humanity extends a hand in friendship first. But if you slap it away, you better be prepared for the fist that follows. In the years that followed, humanity would become known not as conquerors but as mediators, not as warriors but as peacekeepers. The Ghost Fleet remained, hidden in the void, a silent reminder that the species that had split the atom on their own world, that had walked on their moon with primitive rockets, that had survived ice ages and world wars and their own worst impulses, was not to be trifled with. The hegemony survived, transformed into the Zephyrian Commonwealth, a democratic body that became one of humanity's strongest allies. Commander Vexhar, the one who had fired the first shot, became an ambassador, spending his remaining years teaching other species about the danger of underestimating those who speak softly. And in the historical archives of 100 worlds, the same lesson was recorded. Humanity asked for peace, offered friendship, extended trade. But those who mistook their kindness for weakness learned a harsh truth. You should have left the humans alone. Because when you bring them war, they don't just fight back, they change the entire game. The war with the hegemony lasted 3 days. The peace that followed lasted 300 years and counting. Sometimes, the most powerful victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in turning them into your friend. Humanity understood this. It's why they won. It's why they'll always win. Asterisk.